Hi everyone, I am Elchin Nazirli.
And I'm Emin Guliev.
We are the first year students of University of Economics in the specialty of business administration, and today we are gonna show you our project work about the supply and demand role in the economics.
I hope you guys will understand the main principles of supply and demand. We try to make it simple so everyone can understand it easily. I think you will like it.
Okay guys, we will not languish anymore, so let's get started. Okay, now I will start with the demand. What is the demand? The demand is the willingness of buyers to buy any kind of items from the global market. For example, the ice creams. In this curve of the demand, you see that when the price goes up for the ice cream, the quantity demanded is decreasing. But vice versa, if the price goes down, the quantity demanded is increasing. There is two reasons for the law of the demand. The first one is the substitution effect. When the price goes up for the ice cream, people are willing to buy other substitute products such as the candy bars. But when price goes down, people are willing to buy more ice cream than before, and this is the substitution effect. The second reason is the income effect. When the price goes up, people have less purchasing power. That's why the quantity demanded will fall. But when price goes down, the quantity demanded will increase because people will have more purchasing powers than before. Okay, now I will talk about the shift of the demand curve. There is 5 shifters of the demand curve, and first of them is the preferences. For example, if there is hot day outside, people are willing to buy more ice cream than before, and that's why the demand curve will shift to the right. But notice that I don't talk about the price. There is some other things that make the curve to shift to the left or the right. But if there is a cold day outside, people are willing to buy less ice cream than before, and it will make the demand curve to shift to the left. The second shifter is the number of buyers. When number of buyers is getting high, the quantity demand is also getting high. That's why the demand curve will shift to the right. But if the number of buyers will decrease, the demand curve also will decrease and go to the left. The third shifter is the price of related goods. Related goods is the substitutions and complements. For example, when price of ice cream goes up, people are willing to buy some other products such as candy bars. That's why the demand for ice creams will decrease and the demand curve will shift to the left. But when for example, price of ice cream will decrease, the quantity demand also will increase. That's why the demand curve will shift to the right. But there is also complements. For example, the complements of the ice cream is the ice cream cones. For example, when the price of ice cream cones gets high, the price of ice cream also gets high. That's why the quantity demand will decrease and it will make the demand curve to shift to the left. The first shifter is the income. Income affects 2 types of good. The first one is normal goods and the second one is inferior goods. For normal goods, when income rise, people are willing to buy more of it. But when income gets down, people are willing to buy less of it. But for inferior goods, when income goes up, people are willing to buy less of it. And when income goes down, people are willing to buy more of it. Ice cream is probably a normal good. That's why when income rise, the demand curve will shift to the right, and when income goes down, the demand curve will shift to the left. But for inferior goods such as instant noodles, when income goes up, the demand curve will shift to the left because people will buy less of it. But when income goes down, people will buy more of it. That's why the demand curve will shift to the right. The fifth shifter is the expectations. If people expect that the price will go up in the future, they can buy more of that product now, and that's why the demand curve will shift to the right.
Now let's talk about supply. This is the supply curve graphic, and this graphic shows us the positive relationship between price and quantity supplied. There are also 5 shifters of supply. The first shifter is price of inputs. For example, let's talk about ice cream. If the price of milk increases, the supply of ice cream will decrease and the curve will shift to the left. If the price of milk decreases, the supply of ice cream will increase and supply curve will shift to the right. The second shifter of supply is technology. For example, if there is a new machine that produces the ice cream faster and cheaper and easier, the supply curve of ice cream will shift to the right. The third shifter is government policies like subsidies, taxes, and other government regulations. For example, let's talk about taxes. If government put tax on ice cream, the ice cream supply will decrease and supply curve will shift to the left. And the subsidy. Subsidy is the money which government gives to the producers for produce more product, and with this, producers produce more product and supply curve shift to the right. The fourth shifter is number of seller. So basically, if there is less seller, the supply curve will move to the left. So if there is more seller, the supply curve will move to the right. So fifth and final shifters is expectation. If the producers expect the price of ice cream will increase in the future, they will hold back the supply now and wait for sell it later. So these are the 5 shifters of supply, showing why supply curve will move to the left or will move to the right. In here we should notice that the price doesn't affect the supply curve.
Okay, now we have finally enough to put a supply curve and demand curve together, and we can find there an equilibrium point. Equilibrium point is the point where the supply curve and demand curve intersects each other, and also it is the price where the quantity supply and quantity demanded is equal to each other, and that's why in this point the market is balanced.
If there is a change in the price of the ice cream, that moves along the demand and supply, changing quantity demand and quantity supplied, and this is called disequilibrium.
As you see, at a price down here, the quantity demanded is greater than quantity supplied, and there is a shortage. At that price, consumers want to buy more of that ice cream, but producers don't want to produce much of it. That's why there is a shortage.
But if the price goes up there, quantity supply increase, producers want to produce more, but at high price, consumers don't want to buy it, and that means there's a surplus. But in real free market, there is no reason for the price stay up there, and producers start to lowering price until the equilibrium point.
Okay, now when we have a supply and demand equilibrium, we can now start using it to find out what's going to happen to the price and quantity demanded. As you see in this graph, there is a supply curve, demand curve at equilibrium. And for example, if there is some study which says that ice creams makes people more smarter, the demand for the ice creams will go up because people prefer to be smart. In this case, the price of ice cream as well as quantity will increase. But if there is some other study which says that the ice creams makes people dumber, it means that the demand curve will decrease and shift to the left. In this case, the price of ice cream as well as quantity will decrease.
But what if instead there was a machine that produces ice cream faster and cheaper? The supply of ice cream will increase because it's affected production. The price of ice cream will go down and the quantity will go up. But if the price of milk increase, the supply of ice cream will decrease, price for ice cream will go up, and quantity will go down. It seems a lot, but it is not. There's only 4 situations that can happen. Demand can go up, demand can go down, supply can go up, and supply can go down. You don't have to memorize all of this, just draw it when you forget it.
Okay, now let's look about the historical application of law of supply and demand. For example, in the 17 years of the previous century in the USA, when the price of oil went up because of the producers, the consumers found the ways how to economize on the oil, and that's why the demand for oil has fallen.
It tells us a great deal about how consumers and producers react to higher prices. With higher oil prices, American consumers found ways to use less oil. Their demand curve for oil had this general shape. We started, say, with price here. As the price went up, oil consumers found ways to economize on oil. This is just what we would have expected from our earlier discussion of droughts and marginal utility. They economized on the more expensive oil, just as in the California drought, they economized on the temporarily expensive water.
As we said earlier, when price of a product goes up, producers start to increase quantity supplied for getting more profit from it.
In saying this, we are really describing the supply curve of an industry, whether oil, potatoes, or video cassette recorders. It would generally look like this. The higher the price, the more oil, potatoes, or VCRs the producers will bring to the market. As the consumer demand curve slopes downward to the southeast, the producer's supply curve usually slopes upward to the northeast. And indeed, if it's a very well-behaved industry, The intersection of these two curves will determine the price of the product, here, and the quantity of the product that is brought to the market, here. That, in a nutshell, is the law of supply and demand.
In 1975, the President Gerald Ford put a ceiling on all domestic oil production in the USA. This discouraged the suppliers to produce more oil, but consumers were willing to buy more oil. That's why there was a shortage in that period, because the quantity demanded of oil was greater than the quantity supplied of oil, and this left the USA more dependent on import oil.
75, in an effort to protect consumers from dramatic oil price hikes, President Gerald Ford put ceilings on all domestic oil. This discouraged domestic production and left us more dependent on imports.
We hope you liked our project. We tried our best, and thank you for your attention. I hope you guys will like.